Hello everyone, welcome to the Daily News Protocol of the Hindu newspaper analysis contributed by Vishnu IS Academy. Today we are going to see the news articles for the date 14th April 2022. Listed are the news articles to be discussed for today. Now let's see the first article, the growth estimate of the World Bank. Recently, World Bank has estimated that the GDP growth rates of India would be lowered till 8% for the year 2022-2023, and also it would further be lowered till 7.1% for the year 2023 and 2024. If you can see the scenario here, the one of the biggest reason for that is the Ukraine war. So because of that, the growth in the South Asia is going to be lowered, slow down than the earlier projected rates. That is all about the estimates of the World Bank. You can refer to the table here. Moving forward, let us see the next news article. Inflation. We are seeing so many issues in the economic scenario, right, all over the world, like hike in food prices and inflations and war and so on and so forth. So in this scenario, today in our newspaper, we have got a wonderful news article saying that inflation is at alarm bells. Just let's learn about some inflation, the basic definition of inflation. What is inflation? Generally we see as the price hike in the goods and services, right? If we go a little deeper in that, the price hike of goods and services will be told as a definition of inflation, but it is more deeper than that. It is the decline of purchasing power of the currency. It is the original meaning of the inflation. What happens here? Let us see one example. Let us assume that for 1 rupee we are getting 2 apples. Okay, so it is the one scenario. After the hike in inflation, what happens here is, for the same 1 rupee, we will now get only 1 apple. Here, for the same currency, for the same amount of currency, we used to get 2 apples, 2 goods. And after the hike in the inflation, now we are getting only 1 apple for 1 rupee. Means what? The purchasing power of the same currency was reduced, right? Here, price of 1 apple is 50 paise. Here, the price of 1 apple is 1 rupee. Means what? The consequence of decline of purchasing power parity of the currency resembles on the prices of the goods and services. So that we can say that the price of apple here has risen. So that's the basic phenomena and concept of the inflation. So as a definition, the declining of purchasing power of currency is nothing but the inflation, which reflects on the prices hike of the goods and services. So in this scenario, there is alarming rises of inflation. Recently in news, there is a news that RBI has recently announced that it would be focusing more on inflation over the growth. So if we see that, in that scenario, if RBI is doing any is taking any steps towards it, the inflation should decline, right? But in recent news, inflation has reached till the 17 months high, that is the 6.95%. But RBI recently estimated that it would go down till the 6.22% inflation rate. What happened here? There are so many reasons behind that, because for the hike in the inflation, the upsurge of the prices of the foods, goods and services. Here we can see the CPI estimates. The CPI estimates has shown the 46% rise in the food prices. Here let us see what is CPI. Consumer Price Index. We see inflation in the name of CPI. So now let's see what is CPI. CPI is nothing but the inflation that would be measured for the goods and services which would be bought in the retail prices. Those basket of goods are nothing but the regular goods and services which would be used regularly by the households in their day-to-day life. So depending on that, the CPI would get much importance. Why? Because we are considering here the normal goods and services of an individual's day-to-day life. So that is also in hike, and another reason is the war. War in Ukraine is forcing our country to get sunflower oils and fats and edible oils. Because of the pressures of that, India is left with no option but to import those fats and oils at premium rates. Because of that also, inflation has risen, and meat and fish also saw sharp prices, and the global supply shortages. There are global supply shortages in the milk and dairy products. Poor people also hit harder with the rural inflation. There is hike in the rural inflation as well. Because of all of these reasons, the inflation was raised alarmingly high. The best way forward for this is to the consumption would be deferred by taking some steps by the policy makers. Clear? Moving forward, let's see the next news article. There is a wonderful article on the NCDs, non-communicable diseases. Before going to that, the author here in this editorial discussed that there are so many non-communicable diseases in our present day lives. One of the biggest and important NCD to be noticed is the diabetes during the pregnancy. Diabetes during the pregnancy, and its all of the consequences were also discussed and very clearly. Let us see all those information. So there are two types in the diabetes during pregnancy. If the mother has the pregnancy, got the pregnancy during the pregnancy, that is the one scenario, and the pre-existing diabetes. That means what? The mother before conceiving, she will have diabetes. In both these cases, the consequence and impact of this diabetes would be on the progenies and the childs who were delivered at that time. And that afterwards is affecting NCDs, and the vicious cycle will be formed. So let us see the scenario here. If you can see other non-communicable diseases, diabetes, obesity, hypertension and heart diseases, all these are raising alarms to reduce and to focus all these diseases. So now let's see what is the impact of these two types of diabetes during the pregnancy. Okay, if a mother has diabetes either during the pregnancy or pre-existing, we saw two scenarios, right? If this mother gave birth to a child, there would occur lot of stress on that child. Why? Because as she will need the insulin supply, that insulin would be produced by the child. Right. She is the patient here, she is the diabetic patient here, the mother. And the insulin required by that mother would be produced excessively by the child in the womb. So that results a lot of stress on that child, and the insulin, huge amounts of insulin production would alter the metabolism of the children to produce more fats. Okay, so that's why the fats will be accumulated in that child. After the birth also, that cycle will continue in that child, and that results the existence of the big baby. Means what? The obesity of that generation would go up further. That is the basic reason behind the obesity and forming the big babies in these recent days. We are seeing so many big babies like that, right? Most of the reasons are this. So what can we do now? To avoid such scenarios, there are some insulin therapies. Clear? So many steps are there. Predetermining of these type of diabetes in pregnant ladies will give some guidance to the doctors to prevent such deliveries. Okay. So, there are some precautions to be taken. Women should maintain a healthy weight during the period of that gestation period, and the blood sugar levels should be maintained at least near the normal levels, even if she has the diabetes. Why? Because if the mother is not that much careful here, that would result in next generation, and such a vicious cycle will be formed. Okay, and also we have seen the insulin therapy and the medical nutritional therapy. There are such techniques to prevent such deliveries and such problems in the children. And also optimizing the metabolic status of pregnant women. It is also one of the alternative technique to prevent that. And here let's see one more point, that if that mother is giving birth to a girl child, that means the pregnancy, the woman having diabetes is giving birth to the girl child, there are chances that she also may produce such a diabetic kids or obese kids. Okay, that scenario will follow through the generations through the women in that life history of their generations. Okay, so that is also one of the biggest danger here. So, in the backdrop of National Gestational Diabetes Mellitus Awareness Day, we are discussing all these points. It is celebrated on the March 10th. Okay, moving forward, let's see next news article. We are seeing some prelims facts of the day now. We have to discuss the Bihu. What is the Bihu? Bihu is nothing but the Assamese festival. Actually, this festival is being conducted as 3 festivals all over the year. There are 3 such festivals included in the Bihu: the Rongali or Bohag Bihu, Kongali or Kati Bihu, Bhogali or Magh Bihu. Among all these 3, the Rongali Bihu is celebrated widely all over the state. Okay, the Kongali Bihu is the festival that reflects any thrifty. There are seasons in a year that the less production of crops and all, right, that season is reflected by this festival. And also the Bhogali Bihu is a festival that to resemble the harvest festival, harvest of that season. And also the Rongali Bihu is the celebration of first month of Assamese calendar. It is the celebration of New Year, onset of New Year, all these things together, and also it coincides with the spring festival, onset of the spring. All these 3 festivals, the Bihu gains much importance. In that Bihu, there is a specific dance, Bihu dance. It is the Assamese traditional folk dance. It is performed during the Rongali Bihu. We can see the picture here. Okay, moving forward. Today, the April 14th is the birth anniversary of B.R. Ambedkar. We all know very much details about the B.R. Ambedkar. Let's remember a few things about him. He is a jurist and an economist. He is called as father of constitution. Okay, he is the chairman of the drafting committee of the Constituent Assembly. Okay, so if we can see any scenarios in the modern history, in 1932, he played a prominent role to sign the Pune Pact. Pune Pact. What is Pune Pact? It is regarding the depressed classes. Okay. Earlier, under the Pune Pact, the communal award, under the communal award, the British government has announced some separate electorates to be allocated to the depressed classes. But that was agitated and protested by the Mahatma Gandhi. But as a representative of Dalits, B.R. Ambedkar has supported that proposal. Hence, there occurred some clash between these two legendaries. So, in 1932, there was occurred a Pune Pact that in which the government has promised to give some reserved seats to the depressed classes, and that pact was signed by both the P.R. Ambedkar and Gandhi. There was other signs done under the Pune Pact. Now let's learn about the B.R. Ambedkar itself. Okay, moving forward, the next new fact for today is the UGC. It is some interesting news to be discussed, moreover regarding the exam. Why? Because UGC has recently announced students that they can pursue 2 academic programs simultaneously. It is interesting, right? Till now we can pursue only one academic degree, but now UGC is allowing to get 2 academic programs simultaneously at higher education levels. Okay, but now there is a clause that students cannot claim retrospective benefit out of it. Students who are already passed out of the university, they can't claim this feature retrospectively. Okay, these are all the news articles to be covered today. Let us meet on the another interesting session tomorrow. Thank you.